Welcome to my lecture of endocrine pathology. Today we discuss the thyroid gland disorders. So, outline of the lecture is the normal physiology of thyroid hormones and the various disorder and the carcinoma arising from the thyroid glands and thyroid function test. So, first of all, what is thyroid glands? So, brief overview of anatomy and physiology of thyroid glands. The thyroid gland consists of the two bulky lateral lobes which is connected by a relatively thin isthmus usually located below and anterior to the larynx. The thyroid is divided by the thin fibrous septa into the lobule which is composed of the 20 to 40 evenly dispersed follicle which is lined by cuboidal to low columnar epithelium and it is filled with the PAS positive thyroglobulin. In response to from the hypothalamus, factor like the thyroid stimulating hormone thyrotropin which is released by the thyrotropes in the anterior pituitary into the circulation. So the binding of the thyroid stimulating hormone to its receptor on the thyroid follicular epithelium which results in a conformational changes and activation of the receptor allowing it to associate with the GS protein. So activation of the G protein which causes the increased level of the cyclic AMP, intracellular cyclic AMP level, which stimulate the thyroid glands and the hormone synthesis which is released by the cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase pathway. So that we discuss the next slide. So from the hypothalamus, the thyroid stimulating hormone which is released from the pituitary in response to the TRH, thyrotropin releasing hormone. Here is the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. So TSH directly acts on the TSH receptor which is present on the thyroid glands epithelium. So that after binding with the TSH receptor, so the G protein which convert GTP to GDP, so increase intracellular cyclic AMP level, so which causes the increased release of the T3 and T4 into the peripheral circulation. So generally the thyroid follicular epithelial cells convert thyroglobulin into the T4 and the T3. Thyroxine is called the T4 and the triiodothyronine is called the T3. So T4 and T3 is released into the systemic circulation where most of these peptides are reversible bound to the circulating plasma protein. So for circulation of the T3 and T4 it requires some binding with some protein. So it is called the thyroxine binding globulin TBG or the transthyretin for the transport into the peripheral tissue. So the binding protein it serves to maintain the serum unbound free T3 and T4 concentration within the narrow limit, yet ensure that the hormone are readily available to the tissue. So free T3 and T4 level is maintained by the binding with the plasma protein. In the periphery, the majority of the free T4 is deiodinated to the T3 and this latter form it is bind to the thyroid hormone nuclear receptor in the target cells with the 10-fold greater affinity than does T4 and it have the more proportionately more greater activity in the functional. So the T3 is the more potent functional form of the thyroid hormone. So T4 is deiodinated and converted to the T3 form in the periphery. So more potent form is available in the peripheral tissue. So thyroid hormone have diverse cellular effects. It includes upregulation of the carbohydrate and lipid catabolism. So it stimulates the protein synthesis in a wide range of the cells. The net result of this process is in the basal metabolic rate and it's have a critical role in brain development in the fetus and the neonates. So the function of the thyroid glands can be inhibited by the variety of the chemical agents collectively referred to as called the goitrogens. So that's substance goitrogens which inhibit the function of the thyroid hormones because they suppress T3 and T4 synthesis and the level of the TSH is increased. So there is a feedback mechanism. So if the T3 and T4 synthesis is decreased, there is a negative feedback. So there is an increased TSH level, thyroid stimulating hormone, and subsequent hyperplasia of the thyroid gland. So the goiter will follow. Some antithyroid agent like the propylthiouracil, which inhibit the oxidation of the iodide and thus block the production of the thyroid hormone. So propylthiouracil, which is an antithyroid agent which block the production of the thyroid hormone. It also inhibit the peripheral deiodination of the circulating T4 into the T3. So T4 will not be converted into the T3. So propylthiouracil, which is used for the treatment of the thyroid hormone excess. The condition is called the hyperthyroidism or the thyrotoxicosis. Iodide, when given in individuals with the thyroid hyperfunction. So if a patient is suffering from the hyperthyroidism or the thyrotoxicosis, it blocks the release of the thyroid hormone but through the different mechanism. So iodide in a large dose, it inhibits the proteolysis of the thyroglobulin. Thus thyroid hormone is synthesized and incorporated within the increased amount of the colloid, but it is not released into the blood. So iodide, which helps in the condition of the hyperthyroidism. The other hormone, which is called the calcitonin, which is not secreted from the thyroid cells but it is secreted by the parafollicular cells or the C cells. Parafollicular means the cells that present besides the follicle, nearby the follicle. These C cells which synthesize and secrete the hormone calcitonin. This hormone promotes the absorption of calcium by the skeletal system and inhibit the resorption of bone by osteoclast. So calcitonin have the counter effect like the parathyroid hormone PTH. So PTH and calcitonin are both the counter regulatory hormone. Now we come to the disorders of the thyroid. So disorders of the thyroid is either by the excessive functioning or by the decreased functioning, and some disorder related to the infection of the thyroid glands. It is called the thyroiditis. Some may have the etiology like the virus and some may have the etiology like the autoimmune disease. And lastly we discuss the goiter and the tumor of the thyroid glands. So first of all, what is the different names? The thyrotoxicosis. It is a hypermetabolic clinical and biochemical state which is caused by the excessive production of the thyroid hormone. So thyrotoxicosis, it is a hyperthyroidism condition. So hyperthyroid condition means that there is a excessive production of the thyroid hormone. Hypothyroidism, it is a, as the name suggests, hypo means that there will be a decreased T3 and T4 level. So it is a hypometabolic state. It is resulting from the inadequate production of the thyroid hormones for prolonged periods. It has the two forms. One is the cretinism and one is the myxedema. Cretinism is in the congenital form. Myxedema is in adulthood hypothyroidism. So cretinism, it affects the development in infancy and childhood. So the children become the very short. Thyroiditis, it may be due to the infection, but it is more often the non-infectious causes. The acute thyroiditis, subacute thyroiditis, and the chronic thyroiditis. The subacute thyroiditis, it is called the granulomatous thyroiditis. Chronic thyroiditis, it is in the form of the autoimmune thyroiditis or Hashimoto's thyroiditis and the Riedl's thyroiditis. Graves' disease, it is a combination of the diffuse thyroid enlargement plus hyperthyroidism and ophthalmopathy. So it includes the thyroid plus ophthalmic system plus there will be a diffuse thyroid enlargement, and it is the autoimmune etiopathogenesis. Goiter is the enlargement of the thyroid due to the compensatory hyperplasia in response to the thyroid hormone deficiency. It may be diffuse or it may be nodular. So the simple goiter or the nodular goiter or the multinodular goiter, it is due to the compensatory hyperplasia in response to the thyroid hormone deficiency. So hyperthyroidism, it is a thyrotoxicosis. It is a hypermetabolic state which is caused by the elevated circulating level of the free T3 and T4 level. So because it is caused most commonly by the hyperfunction of the thyroid glands, so it is often referred as hyperthyroidism. The causes of the hyperthyroidism, the most common cause is the thyrotoxicosis. Okay. Primary hyperthyroidism, it is due to the intrinsic thyroid abnormality, while the secondary hyperthyroidism, it is arising from the process outside the thyroid, such as the TSH secreting pituitary tumor. So if there is a tumor which secretes the excessive TSH, so then the excessive TSH will continue to stimulate the thyroid glands and that lead to the excessive production of the T3 and T4 level. So three most common causes of thyrotoxicosis are all also associated with the hyperfunction of the glands, and it includes the following. like the diffuse hyperplasia of the thyroid, which is associated with the Graves' disease, hyperfunctional multinodular goiter, and the hyperfunctional adenoma of the thyroid. So Graves' disease, multinodular goiter, or the adenoma of thyroid, which is hyperfunctioning. Now the disorder associated with the thyrotoxicosis. It is associated with the Graves' disease, as we discussed the Graves' disease, the toxic multinodular goiter, the hyperfunctioning adenoma of the thyroid glands, iodine-induced hyperthyroidism. But these two is very important: Graves' disease and the toxic multinodular goiter. Secondary is the TSH secreting pituitary adenoma. Another cause which is not associated with the hyperthyroidism, it is like the granulomatous thyroiditis. The patient often complains the painful enlargement of the thyroid glands. Subacute lymphocytic thyroiditis, which is painless. Stroma ovary, which is the ovarian teratoma with ectopic thyroid in the ovary. And the factitious thyrotoxicosis, which is exogenous thyroxine intake. Now we discuss the Graves' disease. What is Graves' disease? It is the other name of the Graves' disease is the diffuse toxic goiter. It is characterized by a triad of features. Means the three things. It is composed of the three things. The hyperthyroidism, it is the thyrotoxicosis, diffuse thyroid enlargement, and ophthalmopathy. So there must be a diffuse thyroid enlargement plus ophthalmopathy and thyrotoxicosis. It is more frequent in 30 to 40 year and most commonly occur in the female. Etiopathogenesis, it is autoimmune basis of the immune mechanism. So many immunological similarity between this condition and Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So Hashimoto's thyroiditis, it is another condition. It is also autoimmune based. Here is also autoimmune based. So some genetic factor association like the HLA-DR3, HLA-DR5 association. It is a higher prevalence in the female and association with the emotional stress and the smoking. Autoantibody, which is against the thyroid antigen, are detectable in the serum of this patient too, but their site of action are different from the Hashimoto's thyroiditis. In the Graves' disease, there is one or two type of the mainly immunoglobulin, thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin. It is called the TSI. It binds to the TSH receptor and it stimulates the increased release of the thyroid hormone. Another is the thyroid growth stimulating immunoglobulin. It stimulates the proliferation of the follicular epithelium. It is called the TGI. So these two immunoglobulin which causes the increased release of the thyroid hormone. Graves' infiltrative ophthalmopathy, it is autoimmune origin. The evidence in support is the intense lymphocytic infiltrate around the ocular muscle and detection of circulating autoantibody against the muscle antigen that cross-react with the thyroid microsomes. So there will be intense lymphocytic infiltrate around the muscle and the circulating autoantibody against that antigen. So these are the features of the Graves' disease. So this is called the infiltrative ophthalmopathy, that is shown in the diagram. And the clinical feature is all the features is related to the hyperthyroidism: emotional instability, nervousness, palpitation, fatigue, weight loss in spite of the good appetite, heat intolerance, perspiration, menstrual disturbance, fine tremor of the outstretched hand, and the cardiac manifestation in the form of the tachycardia, palpitation, cardiomegaly are invariably present in case of the hyperthyroidism. Skin is warm, moist, and the flushed. And weakness of the skeletal muscle and osteoporosis are also common. This typical eye change in the form of the exophthalmos. So this eyeball is protruding outwards. So it is called the exophthalmic infiltrative ophthalmopathy in the case of the Graves' disease. So this is the gross photographs of the thyroid in case of the Graves' disease. So here it is the thyroid gland is diffusely enlarged. So this is the microscopic photograph in which there is a hyperplasia of the thyroid follicular epithelium plus the colloid field. These colloid field follicles contain this white area is called the scalloping of the colloid material. So this is the characteristic feature of the Graves' disease. So this is morphological feature. It is diffuse symmetric enlargement of the thyroid glands. Cut section is homogeneous, red, brown, meaty. It lacks the normal translucency of the thyroid glands. Microscopically, there will be epithelial hyperplasia and hypertrophy, and the colloid is markedly decreased, or the light staining or watery and finely vacuolated. It's called the scalloping of the colloid. The stroma may show increased vascularity or accumulation of the lymphoid cells. So the follicles are lined by the tall columnar epithelium. Sometimes the epithelium is crowded and enlarged epithelial cell which is projecting into the lumen of the follicle. This cell actively resorbs the colloid in the center of the follicle and resulting in the scalloped appearance. The lab investigation is increased T3 T4 level. TSH level is usually inhibited. So low TSH level or increased T3 T4 level. Plus there is a autoimmune basis. So there is a demonstration of the autoantibody in the serum of the patient. The measurement of the radioactive iodine uptake by the thyroid gland may be valuable in determining the etiology. There is a diffuse increased uptake in the whole gland. It indicates the Graves' disease. Increased uptake in solitary nodule, it is called the toxic adenoma, or the decreased uptake, which is called due to the etiology is due to the thyroiditis. Now we come over the hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism, it is caused by the any structural or the functional derangement that interfere with the production of the adequate level of the thyroid hormone. So hypo means that there is a decreased thyroid hormone level. So its prevalence it increase with age and it is nearly tenfold more common in the female. So both hyper and hypothyroidism it's more common in female. So causes of the hypothyroidism, which is the primary, is the developmental. So thyroid dysgenesis. So there is some developmental defect in the formation of the thyroid glands due to the some mutation on the receptor or etc. Some thyroid hormone resistance syndrome. So thyroid hormone resistance syndrome, that means the in response to the TSH, the thyroid glands there is some resistance. So in response to the TSH, thyroid gland is not able to produce the thyroid hormone. Post-ablative, which is due to the surgery, radiation therapy, external radiation that lead to the destruction of the thyroid glands. Thyroid parenchyma is destroyed, so that also lead to the hypothyroidism. Other important is the Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which also causes the hypothyroidism. Iodine deficiency, which also causes the hypothyroidism, and some drugs that also lead to the hypothyroidism. So thyroid hypoplasia, some mutation, thyroid hormone resistance syndrome. Similarly to the hypothyroidism is also primary and secondary. Primary is there is an intrinsic abnormality of the thyroid, and the secondary it is the result from the pituitary and the hypothalamic disease. Primary hypothyroidism, which account for the vast majority of the cases of the hypothyroidism, and it can be accompanied by the enlargement of the size of the thyroid gland. So primary hypothyroidism, it can be congenital, acquired, or the autoimmune. So congenital hypothyroidism, it causes the endemic iodine deficiency in the diet. So there is some area on that there is a deficiency of the iodine in their diet. So inborn error of the thyroid metabolism, it is called the dyshomogenetic goiter. In this condition, there is some error in the thyroid metabolism. So there is a problem in the iodide transport in the thyrocyte, iodide organification, and the iodotyrosine coupling to form hormonally active T3 and T4. So some mutation in the TPO gene, it is the most common causes of the dyshomogenetic goiter. Now come to the acquired hypothyroidism, which is related to the surgery or the post-radiation. So there is a destruction of the thyroid parenchyma. Sometimes the total thyroidectomy or the hemithyroidectomy for some treatment of the thyroid tumor. So that also lead to the hypothyroidism. So decreased T3 and T4 level. So some drugs given intentionally to decrease the thyroid secretion, like the methimazole and the propylthiouracil, which can cause acquired hypothyroidism. Autoimmune hypothyroidism is the most common cause of the hypothyroidism. So the vast majority of the autoimmune hypothyroidism are due to the Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Here in Hashimoto thyroiditis, circulating autoantibody, which include the antimicrosomal, anti-thyroid peroxidase, and anti-thyroglobulin antibody. So this anti-TPO and antimicrosomal, anti-TG antibody are found in this disorder, and the glands are typically enlarged. It is goitrous enlargement of the thyroid gland. Secondary hypothyroidism, which is also caused by the deficiency of the TSH level. So some pituitary tumor or some postpartum pituitary necrosis trauma, that also lead to the loss of the pituitary parenchyma, so decreased TSH level. or the deficiency of the TSH, that also lead to the secondary hypothyroidism. Now we come to the cretinism. So cretinism, it is a congenital hypothyroidism. So the word cretin derived from the French word. It means the children are so mentally retarded, so they are incapable of committing sins. So a child with the severe hypothyroidism present at the birth, developing within the first 2 years of the postnatal life, there is a period where brain development is taking place. So the etiopathogenesis of the cretinism is thyroid agenesis or the ectopic thyroid, some genetic defect in the iodine trapping, oxidation, iodination, and the fetal exposure to iodide and antithyroid drugs. Some clinical features, it is evident within a few weeks to month of birth. The child is slow to thrive, poor feeding, constipation, dry scaly skin, hoarse cry, and bradycardia. Characteristic laboratory finding, it include the rise in TSH level and fall in T3 and T4 level. That child have the typical facial features, have the dwarfism, round face, narrow forehead, widely spaced eye, flat and broad nose, and the big protuberant tongue and protuberant abdomen. Some neurological feature is also there, the spasticity, mental deficiency. So these are the feature of the congenital hypothyroidism or the cretinism. Myxedema, which is the adult onset of the severe hypothyroidism. So severe hypothyroidism in adulthood, it's called the myxedema. So term myxedema, it means the non-pitting edema due to the accumulation of the some hydrophilic mucopolysaccharides in the ground substance of the dermis and other tissue. So its etiopathogenesis, it is the ablation of the thyroid by the some surgery or radiation, autoimmune thyroiditis, endemic sporadic goiters, similar to the previous cause that we discussed. Clinical features, the onset of myxedema is slow and it is fully developed clinical syndrome may appear after several years of the hypothyroidism. But their striking feature is the cold intolerance, mental and physical lethargy. So all are the features which is the opposite to the hyperthyroidism or the thyrotoxicosis. So patient experienced the constipation, slowing of speech, intellectual function, puffiness of the face, loss of hair, and altered texture of the skin. So these all are the features that related to the myxedema. So dry hair, coarse skin, lateral eyebrow become thin, periorbital edema, puffy dull face with the dry skin. Laboratory findings is the patient with the unexplained increase in body weight or the hypercholesterolemia should be assessed for the potential hypothyroidism. Most sensitive marker is the TSH level. So first we have to measure the TSH level. TSH level is increased in case of the primary hypothyroidism. So once the TSH level is abnormal, then we go to the measure for the T3 and T4 level, which is low serum T3 and T4 level. So these are the thyroid function test. Hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism. In hyperthyroidism, that is, if the cause of the hyperthyroidism is primary, then there is an increase in T3, T4 or the both T3 and T4 level and the decreased TSH level. While in secondary, primary hyperthyroidism means the cause is in the intrinsic thyroid abnormality, while in secondary there is an increase in the T3, T4 level plus there is an increased TSH level. Here the TSH level is decreased, but in secondary causes there will be always increased TSH level. Hypothyroidism, there is a decreased T4 level and the decreased T3 level. So here the TSH level is increased in primary. In the secondary hypothyroidism, there is a decreased T4 and T3 level and decreased TSH level. So thyroid stimulating hormone level decrease in the case of the secondary hypothyroidism. While in congenital hypothyroidism, there is a increased TSH level, similarly like the primary hypothyroidism. Now we come to the thyroiditis. Thyroiditis is a inflammation of the thyroid glands. It is generally due to the non-infectious causes, and it is classified based on the onset and duration of the disease. Acute thyroiditis, subacute thyroiditis, and chronic thyroiditis. Acute thyroiditis, which is due to the bacterial infection, staph, strepto, which is not common. Some radiation injury that also lead to the acute thyroiditis. Subacute thyroiditis, it is called the subacute granulomatous thyroiditis, or called the decurrence thyroiditis. some postpartum or the silent thyroiditis, and in case of chronic thyroiditis, which is Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and the Riddle's thyroiditis. Riddle's thyroiditis is called the fibrosing thyroiditis, invasive fibrous thyroiditis. So one by one we discuss Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Hashimoto's thyroiditis is a diffuse lymphocytic thyroiditis, so the other name is called the stroma lymphomatosa. It is characterized by the three principal features: diffuse goitrous enlargement of the thyroid gland, plus lymphocytic infiltration in the thyroid glands, and occurrence of the thyroid autoantibodies. So it is most commonly occur into 30 to 50 years, as we discussed previously. So it is common in the female in the region where iodine supplies are adequate. So pathogenesis of the Hashimoto's thyroiditis, it is the breakdown of the self-tolerance and induction of the thyroid autoimmunity by the CD8 cytotoxic T cell, which lead to the T cell mediated cytotoxicity, some CD4 positive T helper cells that causes the activation of the macrophage through the interferon gamma, which lead to the thyrocyte injury, and some plasma cells which secretes antithyroid antibody, which binds with the antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. So it is a type 2 type of the hypersensitivity reaction and the release of the antithyroid antibody. So the pathogenesis is the of the Hashimoto thyroiditis. It may be related with the some other autoimmune disease like the SLE, Sjogren's syndrome, rheumatoid arthritis, pernicious anemia. So as we discussed, the immune destruction of the thyroid cells by the CD4 or the CD8 T cells, and the antithyroid antibody which is released from the plasma cells. So breakdown of the peripheral tolerance of the thyroid autoantigen results in the progressive autoimmune destruction of the thyrocytes. Morphological features: the classical form and fibrosing variant. The classical form is usually more common. Grossly, it is a diffuse symmetric form, rubbery enlargement of the thyroid gland. So it is always diffuse symmetric form and rubbery consistency of the thyroid glands. On cut section, there is a fleshy appearance with accentuation of the normal lobulation but with retained normal shape of the glands. Fibrosing variant, which is firm and large thyroid with compression of the surrounding tissue. Histologically, there is an extensive infiltration of the glands by the lymphocyte, plasma cell, immunoblast, macrophage in the formation of the lymphoid follicle having the germinal center. Plus, there is a decreased number of the thyroid follicles, which is generally atrophic and the devoid of the colloid. The thyroid follicular epithelial cells are transformed into their degenerated form. It's called the Earthal cells, or called the oncocytes, which are the abundant mitochondria or the abundant eosinophilic granular cytoplasm. And there is a slight fibrous thickening of the septa separating the thyroid lobules. So it is called the fibrosing variant of the Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So this is the microscopic photograph of the Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Here is with the formation of the germinal center by the infiltration of the lymphocytes and the atrophic thyroid follicles, which contain the scant colloid material, and the changes of the oncocytic changes in the thyroid epithelial cells. It's called the Earthal cell changes, which are the characteristic features of the Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Now we come to the Riddle's thyroiditis. Riddle's thyroiditis is a rare chronic disease. The consistency is stony hard thyroid that is densely adherent to the adjacent structure of the neck. So it is a very stony hard consistency, and the other name is called the invasive fibrous thyroiditis. So due to this fibrous consistency, which is that related to the invade into the surrounding tissue. Riddle stroma, it is seen more commonly in female. Etiology is multifocal idiopathic fibrous sclerosis. This group of disorder also include the idiopathic retroperitoneal, mediastinal or retroorbital fibrosis, sclerosing cholangitis, which may occur simultaneously with the Riddle's thyroiditis. Clinical feature: due to the invasive fibrosis that may lead to the dysphagia, dyspnea due to the engulfment of the trachea and the esophagus. Plus, there is a recurrent laryngeal nerve paralysis, stridor, and it may look like the thyroid cancer. Grossly, the thyroid gland is usually contracted, stony hard, asymmetric, firmly adherent to the adjacent structure. Microscopically, there is extensive fibrocollagenous replacement of the thyroid glands that lead to the marked atrophy of the thyroid parenchyma and the focally scattered lymphocytic infiltration and invasion to the adjacent muscle tissue. Like this way, the a process that lead to the invasion to the adjacent muscle tissue and the marked fibrosis. Dequerence of the granulomatous thyroiditis, it is also a distinctive form of the self-limited inflammation of the thyroid glands. So it is more common in young, middle-aged female, painful, moderate thyroid enlargement with the fever. The condition is self-limiting and it shows the complete recovery of the thyroid function about the 6 months. So there is a moderate enlargement of the gland which is asymmetric and focal. Microscopically, there is a acute inflammatory destruction of the thyroid parenchyma. Later, the characteristic feature are the granulomatous appearance. The granuloma consists of the central colloid material which is surrounded by the histiocyte and the scattered multinucleated giant cells. So these are the accumulation of the inflammatory cells and the collection of the giant cells. 1, 2, 3, 4 giant cells contain the multinucleated giant cells. Now we come over the goiter. So goiter is divided into the two forms, simple goiter and the multinodular goiter. Generally the goiter, it is due to the lack of iodine or the some goitrogen substance or some hereditary abnormality that lead to the development of the goiter. So there is a deficient thyroid hormone production. Deficient thyroid hormone production is the decreased T3 and T4 level and the excessive TSH stimulation. So increased TSH level and the repeated excessive TSH stimulation that lead to the repeated hyperplasia and involution of the thyroid glands that lead to the goiter. So this is the photograph of the goiter, endemic goiter, which is commonly occur in the Himalayan region due to the endemic deficiency of the iodine in the soil. So this is the cut section of the thyroid glands. So definition of the goiter, it is the thyroid gland enlargement which is caused by the compensatory hyperplasia and hypertrophy of the follicular epithelium in response to thyroid hormone deficiency. End result of this hyperplasia is the patient is in generally euthyroid state. So euthyroid state means that there is a normal thyroid hormone profile, T3, T4, TSH level is within the normal limit. So diffuse goiter and the nodular goiter. So etiology of the endemic goiter, it is the geographic area. In the 10% of the population in that geographic area suffering from the endemic goiter. So the mountain region which is far from the sea level, the iodine content of the drinking water in the food is very low, that lead to the goiter. And the other is the goitrogen and some genetic factor. So cabbage, cauliflower, turnip, cassava root which also acts as the goitrogens. Some sporadic goiter which is less common than endemic variety, but also there is a cases of the sporadic goiter in which there is a suboptimal iodine intake, some genetic factor and some dietary goitrogens. So there is a iodine deficiency and some goitrogen that lead to the deficient thyroid hormone production. Excessive TSH stimulation, there is a cyclic hyperplasia and involution of the thyroid glands that lead to the diffuse goiter. That repeated cycles of the hyperplasia and involution that lead to the multinodular goiter. Here you can see the nodules of the varying size and shape of the thyroid glands. Here the nodule is not the multiple, so it is called the multinodular or the nodular goiter. Fibrosis of the involuted area and the growth of the hyperplastic area. So there is a asynchrony in between the thyroid follicles or the thyroid nodules. In some area there is a fibrosis and involution, and some area there is a growth. So simple non-toxic goiter or the colloid goiter is a diffuse enlargement of the thyroid glands which is unaccompanied by the hyperthyroidism. So there is the patient is euthyroid. Mostly the patient is euthyroid state. TSH level is invariably elevated and most commonly it occurs in the female. The cut surface is gelatinous, translucent brown as we shown in the previous photographs. Histologically there will be a two stage, hyperplastic stage and involution stage. Hyperplastic stage is early stage which is characterized by the tall columnar epithelial cells that shows the papillary unfolding and formation of the small new follicle. While in involution stage the large follicle which is distended by the colloid which is lined by the flattened follicular epithelium. Due to the accumulation of the colloid, that epithelium get the flattened. Multinodular goiter or adenomatous goiter, it is the end stage of the long-standing simple goiter which is characterized by the extreme degree of tumor-like enlargement of the thyroid glands. So many cases of the multinodular goiter, the patient experience the dysphagia and the choking due to the compression of the esophagus and trachea. Sometimes the patient experience there is a cosmetic disfigurement due to the multinodular enlargement of the mass in the neck of the thyroid. So most cases are in the euthyroid state, but about 10% of the cases it may develop thyrotoxicosis, that is resulting in the toxic nodular goiter. So as we discussed, there is a epithelial hyperplasia and generation of new follicle. So this is the photograph of the multinodular goiter. So some follicle is hyperplastic and some there is a involution stage, so that lead to the fibrosis and hyperplasia occur simultaneously in the thyroid glands. So asymmetric and extreme enlargement, nodularity, fibrous scarring, hemorrhage, calcification, cystic degeneration. So these are all are the cardinal features of the multinodularity. So areas of hemorrhage, fibrous scarring, macrocystic hemorrhage and the cystic change in the thyroid gland. So these are the areas which contain the hemorrhage and the cystic change. Now we come over the thyroid carcinoma. So generally the thyroid glands have the three to four type of the carcinoma occur in the thyroid glands. The most common one is called the papillary carcinoma, follicular carcinoma, medullary carcinoma of thyroid, and least common is the anaplastic carcinoma of thyroid. So the frequency of the papillary carcinoma is more 80%, so it is common in follicular, and the very rare chances to the distant metastasis. The architecture is the papillae formation, and the cells are the uniform columnar cells which contain the nuclear groove or the ground glass appearance and the samoma bodies. While in follicular carcinoma, the cell origin is follicular, the distant metastasis through the hematogenous route is common, while in papillary carcinoma, the metastasis into the cervical lymph node is common. So here the architecture is acini formation and the cells nucleus are the hyperchromatic, and the characteristic feature is the blood vessels, vascular and the capsular invasion, which is the cardinal feature to diagnose for the follicular carcinoma and to differentiate between the follicular carcinoma and follicular adenoma. In follicular adenoma, there won't be any capsular and the vascular invasion, so it is a solitary nodules. Medullary carcinoma, the origin of the cell is parafollicular C cells which secrete the calcitonin. So the parafollicular C cells, medullary carcinoma, it is less common, approximately 5% of the cases, and the diagnostic feature is the presence of the amyloid. So this is the genetic origin of the all the carcinoma of the thyroid glands. Papillary carcinoma, there is a translocation or the inversion of the red PTC which is present on the cell membrane. So that gives signal to the further pathway, RAS pathway. So follicular carcinoma, it is due to the point mutation of the RAS pathway. Again, the papillary carcinoma, it is due to the point mutation to the BRAF pathway, and the some follicular carcinoma, it is due to the translocation of the PEG site and PPARG translocation. So these are the microscopic and gross photograph of the papillary carcinoma. So papillary carcinoma generally occur into the unifocal or the multifocal, and the cystic changes plus there is a calcification. So these are the papillae, microscopically papillae, which is lined by the ground glass cells and the plus samoma body. So these are the cells, these are the characteristic cells contain the nuclear groove and nuclear inclusion, samoma body and ground glass appearance. So these are the follicular adenoma of the thyroid glands, which is a solitary adenoma or the solitary enlargement of the thyroid glands, which is well circumscribed, different from the surrounding tissue, both macroscopically and microscopically, and surrounded by the capsule. So there will not be any capsular and the vascular invasion. So it is a photograph of the follicular adenoma. So the varying size of the follicle is present and the intact capsule, and there is no blood vessel invasion. So this photograph is again the follicular carcinoma. So here, to differentiate between adenoma and carcinoma, there is the invasion into the surrounding tissue. So this is the breaking of the capsule, and the thyroid follicular cells grow beyond the thyroid capsule, and this is the characteristic blood vessel invasion. So the thyroid follicular cells present in the blood vessel in the outside the capsule. So this is called the mushroom shape of the invasion. Medullary carcinoma, the cells are the neuroendocrine features and it contains the amyloid material and the stain with the calcitonin. And lastly, the thyroid function test, briefly, that the important thyroid function test is the T4, T3 and TSH. TSH is the most sensitive and the first test to do. Once the TSH level is abnormal, then we go for the T3 and T4, pre T3, T4 level, and some protein thyroid binding globulin and the T4 thyroid binding globulin ratio, some autoantibody marker, anti-TPO for the Hashimoto thyroiditis and the anti-thyroglobulin. So thyroid, some Hashimoto thyroiditis and Graves' disease, some marker, autoantibody marker which is important, like the thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin, and some radioactive study, thyroid scan, calcitonin level, fine needle aspiration cytology, and the biopsy, fine needle aspiration biopsy, and the test for the some special disease like the neonatal hypothyroidism and the metastatic disease. So again, the hyper and hypothyroidism, as we discussed, in the to differentiate between primary and secondary hyperthyroidism, the level of TSH is important. In the primary, there is an intrinsic abnormality of the thyroid gland, so the TSH level is the low. And the secondary, it is due to the problem in the some pituitary or the hypothalamic pituitary axis, so the TSH level is high. Similarly, in the hypothyroidism. So this cover the entire thyroid glands disorder and thyroid function test. Thank you.